Well, let's get a view on what's happening at Eskom. The latest from Eskom now. Dr Roland Ngam is the Program Manager for Climate Justice and Socio-Ecological Transformation at the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation, Southern Africa. Dr Ngam, good evening to you and thank you for your time. I hate to say this, but the Eskom problem seems to get worse and worse, deeper and deeper, and possibly will take longer and longer to fix. Are we at a point where some of the problems may now just be unfixable?
No, I think, Stephen, the problems are eminently fixable. But obviously, with the transformation that is happening, we have seen rent seekers trying to get the parastatal in a chokehold. Obviously, the Russian invasion of Ukraine also causing some people to supply coal to two clients at the same time. But also the coal fleet really, which is proving to be a big problem because maintenance and things like that have not been done on time. But I believe that the problems can be solved, and a lot has already been done to solve the problems, although that is scant consolation to South Africans who are struggling right now with sometimes 4 to 6 hours of load shedding per day.
One of the problems may just be simple competence, and it may not be related to the management at Eskom now. I mean, it may be, but it may not be. At Kusile, for example, there's this massive ash tower. It is 220 meters tall. It is shared, it's a chimney, it's shared by 3 units at Kusile. None of them can operate because of a design flaw, which has led to huge problems. And I mean, this is a massive project, 220 billion rand at least spent on the Kusile power station, and here 3 units can't work. I mean, I don't know how on earth something like that could happen.
Yes, Stephen, and I'm sure you've heard former President Thabo Mbeki talk about this and some of the mistakes that the ANC made, giving out different sections of the contracts to different people. And unfortunately, all of that led to the specs really being skewed and not supplying enough power. Also, Tutuka, which is one of the newer stations, you heard the Ruyter say this at the Scopa hearing about 15 to 17% energy availability factor. Really, a lot of these newer stations are causing some of the problems that are plunging the country in the dark. But I suppose as well, to expand the fleet really is important, and diversifying it as well is important to the solutions that need to be put in place. And finally, to something you were mentioning right at the top of your question, it is not only incompetence, I believe. It is really a lack of skills. We need to understand as well that there are many power stations being built in South Africa and around the world at the moment. Some of the experts there are really very young in their careers, and that is why we're seeing some of the mistakes that have been made in recent times.
There's another issue around some of the older power stations. They're being switched off. Some people say that they need to remain working because they produce some electricity at the moment. These are coal-fired power stations. Ruyter says it would be too expensive to keep them going. Do you agree with him? Do we need to shut them down, even if they're producing some electricity now?
I believe that in the short to medium term, Eskom already has said that repairs to Medupi and Kusile will bring about 2,000 megawatts to the grid, which is about 2 levels of load shedding. Another 6,000 megawatts are going to come in. And that is why you're hearing the speculation that load shedding could be ended in the next 24 months. At the same time as well, we also have about 9,000 megawatts that will come on stream if everything goes to plan. Obviously, I need to add that caveat over the next 3 years. And so, yes, we can certainly do away with some of the older power stations, especially as well because South Africa and Eskom are getting money from international partners to shut down some of those power stations that were built built in the early 1960s. I think it is important to renew the fleet. We cannot continue with unreliable power stations.
There's a lot of discussion around feeding power from rooftop solar into the grid. More and more you see in richer urban areas, more and more solar power. A lot of petrol stations seem to have solar panels on their roofs now. The technology for doing this is well understood. It's been done in places like Germany for about 20 years. It does require quite a lot of changes to the grid, new meters and things like that. Is that feasible in the short to medium term in South Africa?
Yes, Stephen. This is something that I have been arguing for over 3 years now on your show and in other platforms. And so the average home will get about 20 kilowatt hours of solar, and sometimes some of it really is not used. And so if you have a 6 kilowatt system and you're using maybe only 4, the extra 2 can go to some other people who need it on the grid. And the science has already been resolved. Some of the money that should come in through the partnership that South Africa is going into in expanding the grid should also factor some of these aspects, bringing in some rooftop solar. Unfortunately, those who are going to benefit by and large are still going to be the very rich, the upper middle class and so on. And so the government itself needs to try and expand availability of the rooftop solar itself, which can be set up in a matter of days for families that are able to secure some help from banks as well, so that we get more available right now.
Dr. Roland Ngam, thank you, Program Manager for Climate Justice and Socio-Ecological Transformation at the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation, Southern Africa.